9 days to go until Prince Caspian hits theaters, and I'm kind of I'm excited and satisfied, and yet very sad to say that my last set report is online, and it's just 4 interviews. It's very different from the other set reports. It doesn't really have a main report, and this is the easiest one to write because I didn't actually have to do a lot of writing. But that's it. After a few months of putting so much of myself into it, and it was the greatest, most incredible experience of my life. It's over, and I haven't felt like this since December 2005 when Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe came out after 4 years of hype. But we'll get to that more of that mushy stuff at the end. Let me just comment on a couple things that have caught my eye the most with the interviews. Both Ben Barnes and William Moseley talk about the rivalry that they've added to the story between Caspian and Peter in particular. It sounds like, and the more I hear about this, the more I don't like it. I mean, both actors kind of hesitated when they were asked that question. Like William just kind of stood there for a while, like, I don't know. I mean, just think that's how it would be in real life. And Ben kind of hesitated and said, that conflict is always really important in any drama. And so they're basically admitting, at least, that there's no basis for this in the book. We just liked it. We didn't like that part of the book, honestly, is what I think they're saying. And there's a part where William Moseley says that, but in the end, of course, Peter passes on his sword to Caspian. Now, when I first heard that, I think I assumed he meant it, and I've heard that interview, on tape, several times, but it wasn't until last week that I wondered, does he really mean pass on his sword? Because I guess I always just assumed that he meant it figuratively. So I always took it that way, that it just meant he was passing on the kingdom to Caspian after they've had some conflict. But could he mean that literally? Because in the about Peter, could he actually give his sword to Caspian? Maybe he gives him his sword at Caspian's coronation, which we know they're going to actually show in the movie. And that wouldn't be a huge change. It's not like I would stomp away angry. It's just something I'd be kind of uncomfortable with it, because we know that in the book, Caspian gets a Narnian sword from the dwarfs, and but in the movie he's going to actually fight with his Telmarine sword in the battle. So when does he get a Narnian sword at all, and is he going to have one in Dawn Treader? I don't think I would like it if he was using Peter's sword in Dawn Treader, but we'll see. One of the interesting things about doing these reports now is that when I was on set, I had seen very, very little of this movie. We didn't know about Peter fighting Caspian at all. I had no idea. And so when Skander Keynes said, almost accidentally, he said, "Oh, there's a scene where Will's in a fight." Then Ernie Malick came over and whispered in his ear. Of course, we thought he meant the Miraz fight, and Ernie Malick told him not to give anything away. He must have been talking about the Peter Caspian fight, which he didn't want us to know about. Which is kind of cool looking back and realizing, oh, I didn't catch that because I didn't know. And you got to wonder, after I see the movie, I'll probably remember, oh, I remember seeing something like that, and that's what that must have been, and I didn't think about it. So that'll be cool. Ben Barnes is officially my favorite actor in these movies, and here's why. He says that they ask him if he was familiar with the books, and he says he was familiar with the first 3, and he says that it's Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So there you have it. Ben Barnes believes in publication order. End of story. No, I'm just kidding. But that was cool. Like, as soon as I saw that in the transcript, I was like, oh, great. I can't wait to get that posted. I'm the one that asked him the question about exactly how old he is, how Caspian is supposed to be in the movie, since that was a big issue when 25-year-old Ben Barnes was cast. And he had talked about that earlier in the interview, but I wanted him to elaborate. Actually, when he said, "Well, as I was just saying," I went, "Oh, darn! Did someone else ask that and I missed it?" But I didn't. And he went into more detail, and obviously, said that what we've been talking about for a long time, basically, with that the only thing the book says is that he was about Peter's age, and obviously we know from the timeline that Caspian's 13, but it says it was about Peter's own age, and obviously William Moseley has aged since then, so they had to bring Caspian up a little bit, and also consider how old he's going to be in Dawn Treader. They have to take that into account. And he makes a few very interesting points about how Caspian, in the first scene, he's a little boy, just like the book says, and then in the next scene he's jumped. He appears to be older. And he also says that the words in the book are not the words of a 13-year-old. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it said a couple times that, that is just how they talked back then. It's not that they were smart, it's just like how they talked back then. I may be wrong. I don't know. But, I really hope that the way they'd like to sort of get a couple, like, by Joves, or, that kind of thing into the movie. They had none of that in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I don't know, I just really like the way they talk it in the books. It just makes it unique, and little things like that. But speaking of talking, he talks about the Telmarine accent, which we had talked about for a while, of whether or not they would have accents. And I was kind of uncomfortable, I think, with giving them a Telmarine accent since the books are so British. But when I heard Barnes' explanation of it, I felt really good about it. About it's Spanish based, but with an English intonation. And if you hear that clip in the new video where he says,
"I'm Prince Caspian,"
you can kind of understand what he's talking about. And so I can't wait to hear it. I think it sounds like a really cool idea. It should be something unique, but it's still consistent with what's in the book. That'll be great. The reason we asked him that question about if he gets imprisoned in a dungeon is because I don't remember exactly where we heard it. I think we had heard Ernie say it, and we wondered if we had misunderstood him about Caspian being imprisoned or someone being imprisoned in a dungeon. And since we didn't see Caspian on set during that shot, we wondered if maybe he's imprisoned or something. And so we asked him that, and he said he's never imprisoned in any dungeon. So it's possible he has a scene in a dungeon, but he's not the one imprisoned. I mean, so who could be imprisoned? Could it be Cornelius or Trumpkin or I don't know, maybe Miraz? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what they're gonna do, but it makes me kind of nervous about what changes that they made. But we'll see. I definitely think Lazelle's role has been expanded. I definitely think that they've given him a role like from the beginning, and it kind of a subplot that goes through the whole movie that comes to the end where he finally betrays Miraz. Even though there's a line in the interview where he actually says that he implies that Miraz stabs Glazelle in the back, and I'm sure he means that figuratively about betraying him. So is Miraz more the one that betrays Glazelle? How are they going to do that? I'm interested. Can't wait to see how they do it in the end. But that's it. Last report. And what am I going to do with myself? I mean, right now, I just ordered my Prince Caspian poster, by the way. It's going to be here in a couple of days, I hope, which will be... Now I got to figure out what to do with my Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe poster. But it's hard to believe it's really over. I mean, I've just been so used to, every single... pretty much every day for the past few months has been, oh, what am I going to do about the next report, and trying to figure out how to take this massive amount of information and, put it into some kind of cohesive form for people to read, because it was really challenging, but it was the most fun challenge I've ever had in my life, of course. I thanked a couple people at the end of my report. But let me just thank everyone that read my report and and analyzed it and watched these videos and commented and everything. And it's really sad that this is over for me. And I really think this is something. I mean, right now, up to date, this is the greatest. Those were the 2 greatest days of my life. And to actually spend a few months telling people about it was, even though inside I wanted to just spit it all out, the day after I went. It's in retrospect, it actually was better to have taken a breath and a little bit at a time. That was probably better, even though I wanted to just get it on the internet as fast as possible, and even though it drove me crazy. But what else can I say? It's over, and obviously we're hoping to get invited again for Dawn Treader in future movies. But obviously if Narnia Web gets invited to Dawn Treader, we're going to give someone else from Narnia Web the opportunity to go, which will be, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to go to the Dawn Treader set, my favorite book. But from my end, it'll be kind of cool to sit on the other end for a change and just kind of offer suggestions and say, oh, you could do this. And I mean, now I can be the one to get the, triple exclamation points, emails saying, oh, I'm at the set now and it's amazing, and everything, and oh, I can't wait to get it posted. So that'll be fun to be on that end. And yeah, hopefully we'll get invited again for Dawn Treader. But I don't know what else to say. I'm emotionally worn out from these reports, and I don't know what to do with myself now that I don't have a report to write. But I just thank Disney again. I'm here for this opportunity. I thank Tyrion for picking me, and it's pretty amazing to think that I was just one Narnia fan from among the masses, and I somehow got picked for this. It's just really humbling. But so that's kind of the thought I've taken away from this. But in the end, we just got to forget about all this stuff when we go see the movie and just watch it. So, and we'll do that in 209 days. So, this stage of the anticipation is over, and now we get to move on to a new stage. And got to suppose that the trailer must be coming really soon. And of course, remember, Reepicheep could be cast any day now. So keep your eyes on the news as we move on to the next stage in the anticipation of Prince Caspian.